I'm Kelly and I draw things. Welcome back to another video. And recently I was really inspired to make a ton of videos, and I made a big long list, did a ton of research of ideas, and I thought I would share my top 100 with you, so maybe you can be inspired to make a ton of vlogs too. So I am an illustrator and I do illustrations, obviously, and comics as well. So these are kind of specific to me, some of them, but also some of them are very broad and can be applied in different ways. So take them or leave them, but hopefully this gets you some ideas rather than none. So the first section is favorites. Number one is your favorite art books. These can be things that you found from school. These can be things that you found on your own. I would recommending things that are in print so people can actually find them. Number two is favorite digital art supplies. What do you use to make digital art? This can be really beneficial for people just starting out and really have no idea where to start. Having a nice little concise list of here are 3 things that you need to get started can be beneficial. And on the flip side of that, doing traditional art supplies, talking about your favorites of what you like to do. For me, that'd be what I use in my sketchbook, lots of mixed media, all that jazz. Number 4 is favorite places to shop for art supplies. This is probably going to be specific to your town or your area of the country, or the country you live in specifically, but it could really help people who are looking for where to get started, and it might give them a direction to go. Number 5 is favorite art tech. Tech is in technology, anything that falls under that, anything that needs a charge. Cameras, tablets, phones, if you use your phone to film stuff, people might be really interested in that. Apps, software, things like that. And then 6, what software do you use as an artist? For me, I basically use 3 programs, 4, if you count filming stuff. And so I could make a video about each of those and talk about my favorite features of each software. And so that can be 7, your favorite features of each software. Number 8 is favorite art websites. What do you like to look at? Is it specific artists' portfolio websites? Is it some sort of social media? Is it a specific Pinterest board? Direct people to it. So the next section is all about your process and how you make whatever you make. Number 9 is film your process from start to finish. What do you do before you even begin? And then what do you do with it once you're done? And everything in between. Bonus if you can explain all the different steps, especially for new people who are looking to learn how to do what you do, that might be really helpful. Number 9, how do you brainstorm for art? How do you generate a ton of ideas in a short amount of time? What does that process look like? Number 11, how to research art trends. How do you find out what's trending? Where do you look? Where do you go? How do you do that research? And then, how do you organize that research? And how do you apply it to your art? See, that could be 3 different videos right there. Number 12 is how to find inspiration to make art. What inspires you? Is it your personal life? Is it stories you consume? Is it your past? Is it other people? Talk about it. Number 13 is how to sketch art ideas. Sketching is pretty universal no matter where you are. Ceramics, you might need to sketch out a thumbnail. Film, you might need to storyboard it out. Even people who really don't want to draw, sometimes it's helpful in the very preliminary process. So how do you draw for your industry? People might like it. Number 14 is what art supplies do you use for sketching? Do you use whatever's in reach? Do you use a specific pen and only that pen? Talk about it. Number 15 is how to ink. For me, being an illustrator that uses line art, I ink digitally and traditionally, so I could do 2 different videos. Number 16, art supplies for inking. What do you use to ink? What paper? What pens? Maybe you don't even use a pen, maybe you use a brush. For me, I would talk about them, show them how each product works, and then tell them where to get the products themselves. Hey, it's Editing Kelly. I forgot number 17, which is how to pick a color palette. How do you find inspiration for your color palettes? Do you use Pinterest? Do you invent them yourself? Do you use color gamuts? Talk about your process. Number 18, how do you color your art? How do you then add color to that ink that you just did the video on? Number 19, how to add shading. How do you create depth in your piece by adding shadows? Soft shadows, cell shade, cast shadows, all that stuff. You can talk about the difference and how you approach them. Number 20, how to make a comic strip. That's something I do weekly. So if you don't make comic strips, think about something you do creatively weekly and plug it in instead of comic strip. How to do whatever you do weekly. 21, how to make a comic page. I do that, every couple weeks. Again, find something you do every couple weeks creatively and plug it in. 22, how to flap for comics. Find something that is a part of that thing that you do weekly and break it out into a video, especially if it's complicated and there's a lot of technical stuff that goes on. For flatting, for comics, it looks really simple, but there's a lot of things I'm thinking about that might not be obvious. And then you can get kind of technical in your videos. Number 23, how to photograph or scan traditional art. I would have really, really liked that video way back in high school. What do you use? What scanner do you have? Do you just use your phone? Talk about it. And even if it is something really simple, I think people understanding it doesn't have to be complicated can be really beneficial. Number 24, how to turn that traditional art into art prints. So you've scanned it, now what? How do you process it? How do you format it? How do you reprint it out? Number 25, how to print digital art. There are so many digital artists that just never print stuff because they don't know how to do it. Make a step-by-step tutorial, make it easy. How to make art videos. How do you film your vlogs? What's your tech? What's your setup? People might be interested. Even if it's really simple, again, I think normalizing simplicity isn't a bad thing. Number 7, what computer do you use to make art? Do you have a computer? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do a review on it. Number 28, what do you use to draw digitally? I already mentioning your favorite tools, but what's everything you need to draw digitally, down to the type of charger you use. And then the next section is all about ideation. So how do you come up with ideas and philosophy and things like that. 29, how to make art goals. It's January right now, so it's a really good time at the beginning of the year to make a video about this, but don't let that stop you if you're watching this in August. Make art goals in the middle of August, whatever. Number 30, how to overcome art block. How do you make stuff when you have 0 things in your brain? Number 31, how to come up with art ideas. What do you do when you have all this creative energy but no ideas? How do you generate stuff to make? Number 32, how to find your art style. This could be a huge video, especially if you have a really unique art style, breaking it down how you found it. I feel like new artists are really stressed out about finding a style, and talking about it in a casual way might help them have less anxiety about it. Number 33, how to start a sketchbook. Specifically if you have sketchbook anxiety. If it freaks you out starting it, talk about it. I bet people will relate to it. Number 34, how to fill a sketchbook. Once you've started it, what do you put in it? How do you specifically do it? Because I guarantee it'll be different than someone else. And number 35, how to finish a sketchbook. How do you get that last bit done when you're tired of drawing it and you just want to start a new one? Number 36, what's the best art advice you've ever gotten? And contrary to that, 37, what is the worst art advice you've ever gotten? Number 38, art advice you would have given your younger self. What did you need to hear earlier? 39, how to make reference. How do you make your own reference for your project so they're different from everybody else? 40, how to find reference. Maybe you don't own a dinosaur and you need to draw a dinosaur. Where do you look for that information? And 41, how to use reference. How do you utilize it in your work? How does it change your work? How worse would your work be if you didn't use reference? 42, time management tips for artists. We will always have more ideas than we have time to draw. How do you manage that? 43, how to give and or receive constructive criticism. And what is constructive criticism? How is it different than regular criticism? Break it down. 44 could be like 100 videos on its own, but it's how to draw ... people, faces, hands, perspective, dogs, plants, dinosaurs, whatever you like to draw or make. Tell people how to do it in a step-by-step way that they can easily replicate. Let them learn. 45, digital sketching versus traditional sketching. Weigh in. What do you think? What do you do? What do you like? What do you hate? Hate's good. I'm kidding. Hate's bad. Don't hate things. But weigh in on your opinion. Number 46, gift ideas for beginner artists. For me, a beginner illustrator, what would I have liked to receive for my birthday when I was 14? You know, make a list. People are always looking for gifts for their kids, especially if their kids are interested in stuff that they don't know anything about. So help them out. 47, how to network as an artist. How do you make art friends? How do you keep those connections up? How has networking helped you? All right, next section is all about having online e-commerce for art. 48, how to start an art business. If you don't have one, this doesn't apply, but if you do, how'd you do it? What was your path? I guarantee it was different than someone else's. 49, how to make an online store listing. How do you approach it start to finish? Number 50, how to pack orders. Talk about your supplies, your setup, how long it takes, things you wish you had, things you bought that you don't use, all that stuff. Number 51, how do you turn your art into products? Great, you've drawn this cool thing. How do you turn it into a thing that you can actually sell? 52, how to batch create many products from one piece of art, which means you draw one thing. How do you turn it into 5 or 6 different products? 53, where to get products made? People are gonna eat this up. They're always looking for recommendations. It's really scary to sink a ton of money into merchandise from someone that's unknown, but a recommendation can really help them out. 54, how to make stickers. Where do you order from? How do you format your art? How do you make the ideas? 55, how to make art prints. Are there different manufacturers you've tried out? Which ones worked, which ones didn't? This is Editing Kelly interrupting your broadcast to bring you the news that I already made this one by the time I finish editing this one, so it's on my channel already. 56, how to make bookmarks. I know that's specific to me. I sell a lot of bookmarks, a lot of people don't, but it was a process and I had to figure out how to do it, and I'm gonna share it with people. 57, how to make buttons. Do you order them? Do you have your own machine? Can you show them how you physically do it? That might just be like an interesting, like, how it's made type of thing. 58, how do I photograph these products? Once I have them, physically, how do I then photograph them and make them digital again to sell them online? 59, how do I make a newsletter / and/or mailing list? How do you handle that? What do you use to distribute it? Number 60 is how to take commissions, big or small. People might be interested. Number 61, how do you price your items to sell? Do you do research? Is it based on how much you spend? Break it down for people. 62, how do you make digital mock-ups? For me, this is for pre-orders. How do I approach it? What programs do I use? Number 63, how do you handle shipping labels? Do you stay in the post office for an hour or do you do it at home? 64, how do I prep for an in-person event? How do I pack up my whole studio and take it with me to sell stuff? 65, how much merchandise should you take to an event? 10 stickers, 100 stickers. People want to know. This will also help them order the correct amount. 66, how much money do you take to an in-person event? How much change do you need? Do you need 100 ones? Maybe, depends on the event. Talk about it. 67, reflect back on mistakes you made in your art business. It might help someone else avoid making these mistakes. 68, who are your favorite manufacturers? Who do you use to make your stuff? 69, if you don't make stuff with manufacturers, how do you make it in your home studio? 70, how do I organize my portfolio website? How do I decide what goes on there and what doesn't? 71, if you sell stuff, do you use Etsy or do you use a different platform? Compare the two. 62, how to make your own link tree. What do you recommend having on it? What do you recommend don't having on it? Number 73, if you're familiar with how to use print on demand, talk about your experience and what you recommend for people. This next section is about Patreon, which is a great time to plug my Patreon. Thank you to my patrons for supporting me and helping me make this video. 74, how to make a Patreon for artists. If you've done it, talk about your experience, talk about what you learned, talk about what you wouldn't do next time. 75, my 1 year on Patreon is coming up in March, so I'm gonna make a video about what I learned on Patreon in my first year. Everything I learned and how I'm gonna apply it in the future. 76, post ideas for Patreon. What kind of content can you post? This could be really specific to your niche, this could be in general. Number 77, tier ideas for Patreon. What kind of rewards can you offer? What price tag goes with each reward? All that stuff. Next section is about vendor events. Editing Kelly appeared. I forgot number 78. How do you find in-person events to go to? What's your process? How far are you willing to travel? All that stuff. 79, how do you set up your booth for an in-person event? For me, mine's changed over the years. I would talk about all the changes and why I implemented them. Number 80, what are my best sellers at in-person events? People want to know what sells well and what doesn't sell well so they can avoid it. Number 81, how to design a business card. What works, what doesn't. For fun, make bad examples and show them what not to do. And then some videos that talk about money. Number 82, how to make money as an artist. What are all your income streams? How much do they actually make you? Is it worth doing certain things? Number 83, how to save money as an artist. Tips, tricks. This is a great way to plug a ton of your affiliate links if you have those for some manufacturers, all that stuff. 84, budgeting tips for artists, especially if you run your own art business. How do you do it? What's the math behind it? Math can be really scary for art people. Make it less scary. And then you can talk a little bit about your studio. 85, how do you organize your studio? What does it look like? That could also lead into a studio tour. Number 86, how to start an online shop from a home studio. You don't need a storefront, you can do it from your house. Number 87, studio vlogs. A studio vlog is where you show people what you do in your studio. Pretty straightforward and tons of variation from artist to artist. 88, a day in the life of an artist. What do you do as an artist from when you wake up to when you go to bed? Even if you're not a full-time artist, people could find that really inspiring. Like, wow, you know, they work, but then they also do art. So what does that look like? People might find it really interesting. Number 89, how do you store all your inventory? Mine, I keep in boxes. I glue together and label. You might have a not as chaotic solution. Share it. Number 90, things that I bought for my studio that I love, that work great. And number 91, things I bought for my studio that were a waste of money and I wouldn't recommend buying. And then the last part is entertainment. So a lot of that was educational. Here's some things that just people can watch for fun. Draw this in your style challenge of a different artist, or a few artists, or fan content. Draw this in your style of a famous painting. Number 94, do a timed-based art challenge. This could be a day, a week, a month, a year, however long or short you want to do, and then film everything you do for it. Number 20. Number 95, try an art subscription box. I'm looking for one to try. If you have any recommendations, let me know. Number 96, compare cheap art supplies to expensive art supplies. What's the difference? Is it worth getting the expensive one, or the cheap one fine? Or is it garbage? Number 80, I can't count, guys. Okay. Number 97, how do you travel with art supplies? This could be traveling across the world. This could be traveling across your house. What does it look like? Number 89, how to plan an art challenge. If you want to make up your own challenge, how'd you do it? How'd you find your prompts? What was the research that went into that? Number 99, take part in a really well-known art challenge, like Inktober or something, where a lot of people know about it and they might be really interested in how your results differ from their own. And number 100, make your own 100 anything video. This could be 100 video ideas, 100 sketchbook ideas, 100 sketchbook prompts, 100 art supplies you like, anything. And the more weird specific it is to you, the less likely other people will have made a video about it. And that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching the whole thing. If you want to, like this video. If you want to subscribe, I have more content coming down the way. As you see, I have 100 ideas. I'm gonna do a lot of them. Thank you again to my patrons for making this video possible. You guys rock. Patrons get behind the scenes too, so if you want to know more video behind the scenes content, that's a great place to find it. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.